Carnival, suppress the carnival.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business, I'm not to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of the game.
no.
Let's go to the last part.
We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug. You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person, but to the detriment of yourself, what are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe.
Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God, so we kind of have to stalemate.
We'll focus on the woman who's being the victim,
right,
or the man who's being the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happen in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI, worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Do you need treatment for obesity or any related abdominal procedures? The community hospital now offers minimally invasive laparoscopic surgery done by an American-trained, board-certified surgeon with over 20 years' experience. Give us a call at 235-5479 for more information.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward on our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for, it's called loss and damage, and we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the correspondent banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region. Man is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water and fresh air and everything had to be on this planet for humanity to have a chance.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. And Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
WESN.
Good morning and welcome to WESN. This is AM Prime and I am Jana McLeod. All right, so today we have lots in store for the show. We have really enticing and interesting conversations that I'm very excited to be able to lead. So we've been trying to have this conversation for a while now. We would have had a part one with Future President Mr. Martin Lumpkin and psychologist Sule Joseph on how SCA could sometimes be a contentious topic and how it may put extra stress and even veer into mental illness for some students that are taking the exam. And out of that show, we would have explored how our education system may just be a little bit faulty as it plays into the narrative that children aren't able to keep up with it. So we are back today with Future President Martin Lumpkin for a continued look at Trinidad and Tobago's education system, what's working, what's broken, and what inevitably must change. Before we would have explored how the system was historically designed to produce an obedient and disciplined workforce. But we are in 2025 now. The demands of our citizens and our students have drastically shifted. Or has it? So today we ask, has the system evolved with our society? Are we still educating for compliance? Or are we preparing young minds for creativity, empowerment, innovation, and critical thinking in a world where technology is king? So Mr. Martin Lumpkin, welcome to the program once again.
Hi, good morning, Ms. McLeod. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
Good morning. How are you doing on this beautiful morning?
I am blessed. I'm still fighting the virus, but thank God for life.
All right. Well, even in spite of that, I'm so grateful that you're spending this time with us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right. So last time we would have sort of concluded, we were coming down to the end of this show. We had to wrap. And we said something really, what I thought was really special, is that our workforce was supposed to be obedient. You know, it was one of the reasons our education system was designed on. Can you give us a little bit of a recap of what your thoughts were when you heard that statement?
And so your last guest, the psychologist, child psychologist, Mr. Joseph, was on the button in that the education system historically, as we said, it's colonialism, and it is to churn out a workforce for the country. And we really have to step back and look at what is really the purpose and the nature of education in Trinidad and Tobago. Is it that we have to continue on this journey of churning out a workforce? Yeah. Or is education more than that? Is it to have citizens who make positive contributions to our society, which drives nation building as well? Are we really focusing on what the nation needs, not only in terms of the workforce, but having persons give that building of the nation as a whole, having Trinidad and Tobago develop? You know, we like to make reference to the Nordic countries.
We do.
And what they are doing, Japan, etc., in terms of the education system. And they, when you look at it historically, they would have had a pause, would have stepped back and looked at the system and what they are really doing in the education system. We are supposedly successful because we're churning out a number of persons who are at the top
scholars,
of the academic qualifications and so on. But what about those who are just getting by and those who are below the standards that we are supposedly setting? What are we doing with those students, those children? And you can see the frustration at the level of some of our secondary school children, even primary school, because they are not supposedly achieving. And as such, their self-esteem isn't, growing.
And can we argue that this group of students right now is a little too high? I wouldn't call it a majority, but I would call it a really high number.
Yes, and once you have one student below that, it's too high.
Yeah.
How are we catering for their needs?
Exactly.
Are we really looking at, interventions that can meaningfully affect their lives? Because when you have children who are not achieving, they get into mischief. They get into other areas. And the same could be said of high achievers. Have we really looked at those high achieving students as well? Because when they are not challenged as well, they can get into mischief as well too. And sometimes the mischief is even greater because of that, mind that they have. But what about those who are not supposedly achieving? And some people have said that we have a system which allows students to fail. And when they do supposedly fail, how do we bring them back to a point where they can build back that self-esteem? And there are elements out there who are just waiting to lap up these students and take them and show them the supposedly love that they are looking for. So it's not only in terms of the education system, but in terms of the home and the community as well too. There needs to be that intervention as well too, because if the home isn't treating them in a particular way, they will find that attention with other areas. I don't want to say gangs as such, but there are the elements that just waited to take these children, show them this kind of love, and quote unquote, and support, and have them do their bits in the community and eventually in the schools.
I want to continue on that point, but I also wanted to make a note of something you said regarding the high achievers. We need to care for them as well, because sometimes the high achievers, they may be really good at test taking, but when you ask them to recite that information or what it is that you learned in school a couple of months afterwards, they don't know, or they mightn't get the point of what was taught to them. So they know how to solve the sum, but you ask them to apply that same theory or that same theory of thinking in the real life, and they're at a loss for words or a loss for action. So how do we ensure, and this is not really a question I know we can really answer right now, but how do we ensure that learning is really taking place, learning for life, not just learning to take an exam? Yeah.
Yes, and you're quite correct. That's in terms of cramming. And we and myself included, when growing up, going through the system, we wait until the night before, and we cram down a bit of information that we believe will be in the examination paper. And so we get the questions correct, but really, is it, do we see the knowledge as being applicable to life?
Exactly.
And I will tell you, even when I went to teachers training college, when my lecturers would have explained certain things, I'm like, but okay, that's really, when I was growing up, it's just to learn of a set of information.
Exactly.
And that, and again, it comes back to nature and purpose of education, and application to real life, and growing up, and some of our educators have been guilty of it. I know now the thrust is to try to link real life situations to the education system. We have some way to go as well too. I'm not saying that we are perfect, but and hence the reason we need to have constant training and professional development of our educators. Education is not stagnant; it is dynamic, and as such, the persons who impart knowledge, and we're moving away from just imparted knowledge, but guiding as well too, and having children explore, and having them, get that knowledge through exploration and for their own knowledge base as well. We need to have our educators being upskilled, and one may want to even go down the path of AI, which is another conversation.
That's the first thing that crossed my mind, Mr. Lumpkin. I was like, I'm waiting for him to say it.
Yes, but we are of the opinion that human aspect of education can never be discounted. You could never have these programs, these algorithms yes, they may seem to be human at some point, but that interaction, that human interaction, is always necessary, especially at the lower level. You really need to have them, and one could even argue at the tertiary level and beyond. You also need to have it. So AI is another. It can be used positively, but in our opinion, it cannot replace the human, the educators.
It absolutely cannot. I would agree there. Even going back to the cramming topic, I wanted to just share my own experience during, I think, preparing for CSEC examinations. We were all crammed into, a couple of my friends crammed into the IT room, and we're there on the floor, because it was a certain school, we were on the floor. And we was trying to cram for, I think, a social studies exam or a history exam that was happening hours later. And my friend, she came up to me and she was like, "Do you know anything about anything?" And I was like, "Well, I'm not asking that question, so maybe I know more than you." And we sat and we tried to exchange information. Thankfully, everything went well, but it was just the practice of cramming. It was so normalized because it wasn't just that room. All across the corridor, the hallway, inside of the classrooms that weren't even your own. You're sitting down there with 10,000 books and trying to exchange information, and it's so normalized. So we have to ask ourselves, did learning take place in the classroom beforehand? Why can't we, do we learn to recall the information, or do we just have information in front of us that we're expected to sort of remember or sort of apply? Like, what is the purpose behind the teaching? And this is not a dig to the teachers themselves, because they are doing the best with the tools that they have, and a lot of them are superheroes when it comes to that, and they sit with you and they make sure you get it, and they make sure you have a good handle of the information. But sometimes a lot of students fall through those cracks, and even as privileged as I have been, I've fallen through a couple of those cracks as well, especially when it comes to mathematics, but let's not delve into that. Okay, but you would have mentioned something earlier about the empowerment starting at home, and I really found that was interesting, because I mean, education is, as you said, dynamic. It comes from many different places, not just the schools. So can you tell us a little bit more about why it's important for empowerment in learning to start in the home?
The home is the primary educator, and I mean, rightfully so. When the child is born into the family, or lack of, there's where the first set of learning takes place, and the socialization as well too. Behavior is taught from home as well too, and that environment should be conducive. And when we look in the past, Trinidad and Tobago, it wasn't just the nuclear family. There was the extended family, aunties, uncles, grandparents, etc., etc. So that, the child had a number of adults, male and female, to groom and to also, instill values, morals, behavior, etc. And then they go to preschool, kindergarten, whatever, institution that you call it. And there further socialization takes place, because they will meet children of other, household and so on. And then from there, they gross motor skills are taught, and going into fine motor skills, etc. And then primary school and so on. But the home is essential in the learning, because studies have been shown that between 0 to 8, 9 years old, the child will learn a lot of what is needed for the future, but especially 0 to 3, where that behavior. And so if children are given positive behaviors to follow, then they are more than likely, not all the time, they will follow positive behaviors. If they have negative behaviors in the home, and this is more than likely as well too, because we've had children who came from those broken homes, but still would have. So there's always, that exception to the rule. But it is important to have that nurturing and loving care at the level of the home, which is the primary educator, and then the schools become the secondary educators. And really, we're supposed to build in the schools from what the child would have learned before.
Indeed, yeah.
And the academics then expand, etc. and so on. But it is really important to have the home and the family at that level.
Yeah, I would agree in that as well. I don't think anybody would disagree. I hope not. So sometimes when we look at, say, Nordic countries, you would have brought up some Central Asian countries, when we look at the education system and we see the talent that they are producing, we would say, oh, that education system is modern, it's technology focused, they empower students, they allow students to rebel, maybe they have a different structure where they're not in school for 7 to 8 hours of the day, but we look at it and we think modern. When outsiders or foreigners look at our education system, what characteristics do you think they would think of?
It seemed to be, at first glance, a successful education system. And by and large, we have our successes. We are still building. And it's quite, if we look at some of the countries, Sweden, quite recently, they would have recognized that coming out of the COVID period, as well as the use of technology, they have realized that they need to go back to the physical textbooks, and they would have invested money into the future. I can't remember how many millions of dollars to ensure that these textbooks come back. So they have seen where technology is important, yes, and we need the technology in our education system, but we also have to look at how we are using it. Are we really using it efficiently and effectively? And what are our outcomes in terms of what are we going to use it for? What systems do we also have? Sometimes we feel that you leave the child in front of a device and they will learn. Some growing up, some parents believe you put on the television and you allow your child to watch the television. In other words, it's babysitting, but you don't really monitor what the child is looking at, and in the screen time as well too. We have seen that excessive screen time affects the child in many ways, medically, physically, etc. But our system, by and large, as we would have said, is to tune out the workforce. And yes, we are investing billions of dollars into education. Are we getting the returns that we really want?
Exactly.
We have to look.
And my question to build on that would be, like, how exactly does our curriculum enforce the narrative of obedience, of colonialism? Because our teachers, they come every day and they do their best. So what is it that's in the curriculum that's keeping us so stagnant?
The one I would want to say, the quantum within the curriculum, especially I can speak in primary school, it's overloaded. The number of subjects that our students have to face in the primary school system. Yes, they're all essential. And again, we're coming back to purpose. What are the curriculum subjects supposed to instill in the students? Is it just preparing them for an examination, or is it for them to learn areas that will impact on them in the future, and for them to make a positive influence on society as a whole? And as such, the amount of work that you would imagine and you would see when students have to, and this is another area I'm diving into, the book bags of our students and the weight of these books that these students have to carry on a daily basis because of the number of subjects, 8 subjects a day for our students. And I know the ministry attempted to have subject areas overlap, such that if you're doing mathematics, you can look at other areas as well too, in terms of science, and if you're looking at English language, other areas as well. But it is still overpacked. And our teachers, our educators, because they are being pressured to complete the syllabus that's the you know what they generally do on a daily basis. I have to complete it. If I don't, then my supervisor, my superior, comes down on me. So it's about, as we say, teaching the curriculum, but not teaching the child. And we really have to step back and have a serious, not only conversation. We've had conversations, and we've had a number of, looking at it, but walking the talk. I think that's where we need to improve greatly on. We know what we need to improve, but we need to actually do it.
Yeah, because we see the pitfalls. The education system, I think it's beautiful. I think it's taught me, it's made me, it's big part of the reason I am the woman I am today. So I would applaud it for the successes that it would have had thus far. But I mean, even going back to the book bag conversation, I had a friend in primary school that wore a brace for like 2 years because of how heavy, and she had to do all this walking, all this traveling. It was insane to think about, and parents always used to complain about it, always complaining. But I did remember they tried to do something coming down the line. I remember something like that. But going on to another area of our education system in ways I think it could probably improve. The education system, does it reflect the diversity of our country, culturally, sometimes even socioeconomically? Because we would have had a conversation earlier on, a couple of months ago actually, on the show, when in regards to, is culture, differences in culture, like the African culture, Indian culture, is it given a chance to thrive, or should it even be given a chance to thrive in our education system? What are we learning about our actual ancestors? Not about American history, but about our actual ancestors. Does the education system speak to that, or should it?
It does, in a very limited way, because it will be in certain subject areas, history, social studies, etc. And we have to really look at, and I mean, the conversation has to be, what is culture? Is it just about the various races? But within the culture of Trinidad and Tobago is influenced by certain aspects of various races, etc. And we ourselves have our unique culture as well too. Exactly. But you really have to look at, and unfortunately, when we talk about race, a lot of people are still of the mindset that race should influence their activities and how they interact. Yes, I'm not saying that you must not be proud of your ethnic background and your race and so on. Be very proud of it. But it should not be to the point where you feel superior to another person because of that. And the education, that's what education is really supposed to do. Make us not only tolerant of each other, but accepting and respecting as well. And there's another journalist from another media house that spoke at graduation, and he spoke about persons at the highest level in parliament and their behavior, and that that example that they are setting at the highest level. What do we expect our children to emulate, But yes, culture is important in our diverse society and our unique culture, we have a beautiful culture. It is, and we are, to me, losing some of that essence of what we are in Trinidad and Tobago, this lovely country that we would have grown up. And we're becoming industrialized, and we're becoming such a point where we're only self-centered, and that is affecting who we are as Trinidadians and Tobagonians, as Trinis, as they say, Trini to the bone in our DNA. Like our DNA is changing right now, differently, so.
What is Trini to the bone, really? With to rather be proud of where we are.
And a love for each other. Look, just quickly, long time we used to have something called a guy up.
A guy up?
where you come together as a community and you help each other without any looking for reward. The person, so I'm building my house and starting the foundation. The men and women come together, they cook, and the men, usually the men, they will mix the cement and put up and so on. And, you know, there's that community-based activity that we had long time. We're slowly losing that. So someone in my community, I want them to help. And the first thing they ask, how much you're going to pay? But a long time, you know, it was just natural. We come together, we help that person, and then our next person our next family has some work to do, we come together. That, you know, that's an essence that we've been losing more than slowly. And to me, it's in some areas it's non-existent, in some it continues.
So I wouldn't believe you've actually had multiple conversations like that out of the studio and also in studio. We had one recently, and you just opened the can of worms there for me. There's this idea that community shouldn't take work in this generation, my generation, unfortunately. People think that community should just be given to them, but when they're expected to show up and actually be community for somebody else, they're like, oh, no, that's too much work, or no, that's something that is owed to you. Like, you need to earn that, you know, like, it's not something I have to do for you just because I'm part of your community, or you need to pay me. Like, when did it become this big whoop to have a friend drive you to the airport, or come pick you up at the hospital, or something like that? Why is it, pass my $50 now? When did it get like that? You know?
Yeah, it's unfortunate and sad that we have reached that, and along the way we didn't realize that we were morphing into something that, you know, your community is and you know, apart from that as well, to seeing each other as human beings, and it's because we're busier, we've become so busy, and as parents. Speaking as parents, sometimes we are so focused on giving our children what we didn't have. Sometimes they don't appreciate what they have. My wife and I are guilty in some aspects of that. And, you know, in some areas they're not, and I'm not saying this is general, but, you know, sometimes they really don't appreciate what they have because they have not worked for it. And you know, that's another area in parenting that, you know, we have to ensure that children, and that's a general attitude that we have. We want to give them what we didn't have better than what we have, which isn't bad, at all. But you know, the conversation and the, you know, the guidance have to be there from the parents as well too. Not just, you know, give them that because, but you know, there's that because they have this undue expectation, and now we say some of the children, they feel entitled, you know, this entitlement that they have to have. So you know, in society, as we evolve, some of the things we have lost, and we really need to, and it, you know, akin to that as well too, some of the fruits. So it's another conversation. My children don't know what is guava, and I grew up with guava and so on. You know. Yeah, because it's rare people actually having guava now. You don't really see it being sold as well too. But there are some of the other, you know, fruits. So that's another conversation as well. But it's because of how we have been evolving, and you know, the attempt to be industrialized and first world country and so on. You know, we lose. Someone just sent me a picture of a sunrise. And asked, when last have you gotten up early, sat and looked at the sunrise? Most times when you get up, like when I get up, is, you know, to get ready to go to work and you know, do certain things and so. You know, even a sunset. You know, when last have we really sat down and, you know, enjoyed the things around us?
I sometimes think about something my dad told me. Sometime we went on vacation. It was one of our very first vacations. And I asked him why it seems like he was still going, you know, because you're taking this vacation so that you can get, you know, a break. And he was like, there's no such thing as a break. there's a change of pace, but there's no such thing as a break. And when he said that to me, I was like, what do you mean? I have to work forever and ever and ever and ever? Amen? That scared me. But when you really think about it, as you would have mentioned before, we get so busy. What is a break? Do we get time to take a moment and enjoy all that God has given us, or all that is for us to enjoy, like listening to a bird chirping? You know, this conversation has evolved into something else. But going back on topic, you would have mentioned something about the sort of the emotional skills or the soft skills that students have, or I guess they don't really have in schools. So what sort of soft skills do you think we can implement or make into a subject area? For example, emotional intelligence, is that something that we can weave into our curriculum?
It is supposed to be just as important as the mainstream curriculum, emotional. And in growing up, speaking as a male, we were encouraged not to express our emotion. We are supposed to be tough. We're supposed to be the one who, you know, looks at things supposedly logically instead of emotionally.
Yeah.
But the emotional aspect, we've seen over the years, and studies have shown that both in the male and female species need to be able to improve on emotions, and you know that will also give rise to certain decisions and the way we would behave. So emotional intelligence is really important, and the question is, how do we now enhance it in our curriculum, and as you say, the soft skills. And as we talk about emotional intelligence as well, mediation as being one of the areas in dealing with situations. How do we mediate amongst ourselves? Peer mediation should be utilized in having our students tackle the issues that are before them, and interpersonal relationship as well too. When we did drama in education, we spoke about interpersonal relationships and how do we deal with relations amongst our peers, amongst those who are in a level of society that, you know, is above in terms of workplace and in school. How do we deal with authority, etc. And so we have focused and honed in on the written curriculum more than the hidden curriculum, which is part of the education of every one of us. And we have to now, as I said, recalibrate, step back, recalibrate, and look at, you know, these areas as well. To drama and education can be used to assist in many of these situations in our schools. But when we do drama, really, we think of as a single subject, but drama could be incorporated in all subject areas as well too. My late lecturer, Mr. Cyril Collier, would also speak about the positive. He actually did work with nurses, utilize the drama as well too, and other areas as well. And culture can also be, that whole area. But all subject areas are important, yes, but it is the other emotional areas we have to really look at, developing in our students and children.
When it comes to like school guidance counselors, I'm not too sure if it's mandatory that every school should have one, but what is tutors' position on that into like mandatory guidance counselors for, let's say, primary schools in particular?
Yes. Presently we have a part of the Ministry of Education, that is the Student Support Services Division, which would have the guidance counselors, social workers, special education teachers, and that entire group plays a pivotal role in supporting the schools throughout Trinidad and Tobago. And Tutor is on record as stating the importance of this unit and that it should be expanded. But guess what? Right now they are understaffed and they are under-resourced.
Yeah.
For the both primary and secondary school, let's take the guidance counselor. They are in a cluster. They are assigned to a cluster of schools, 3, 4, 5 schools in an area.
Wow.
So they are dedicated to these 5 schools. So when they have, so they go in and they have a prepared curriculum that they would do for the entire year. But if they have to intervene in any sort of situation, if a child is referred and they have to intervene, they can only focus on that student one day, possibly 2 days for the week.
Yeah.
Then they have to go on to the other schools.
Exactly.
As you said, there should be officers at least, because we've seen in a number of our schools the growing number of incidents and referrals. There should be at least one per school throughout Trinidad and Tobago, and in areas that require more than one, because you have some very large schools as well. But numbers doesn't always link to the number of referrals, because even in small schools you can have up to 10 referrals, and you know, for one officer to deal with that. So at least one in the first instance. And we've also called for child psychologists to be at least in every district, if not every zone within a district, because the guidance officers can only intervene at a certain level. There are instances when you need higher interventions, and a child psychologist is necessary at least in every district. There are, but guess what? They are also attached to the public health system. So they also see the general public as well as the students. Dedicated to these schools should be at least one child psychologist per district.
Yeah.
Again, it comes down to economics, but sometimes we have to, you know, look at and weigh what are the you know, benefits of having these, you know, assigned to the schools, and then, you know, it will make sense.
So as we begin to wrap up on this topic and wrap up in general, I wanted to touch on teacher mental health as well. Do you get that face is telling me all I need to know. But like, do you get consistent complaints from teachers about, you know, the state of their mental health?
We do get feedback from our members that, you know, there are times that they are overwhelmed. Even when they don't tell us, when we look at the incidents that they are involved in, you realize that, you know, there is a level of mental health. And we've realized over the years, especially coming out of the COVID period, that lockdown, not only our students, but our teachers as well too, that they are overwhelmed by their work, their personal life, etc. We do have employee assistance programs assigned to the Ministry of Education and to our educators, which they can access freely. But there's this stigma that is attached to mental health that we have to overcome. People believe that if you're suffering from mental health, you're crazy, and you know that is, you know, what our society has taught us. But we're seeing more and more that there is the need. We all are affected by mental health at different stages and different degrees, and we are seeing that within being more. It may not be that it's more pronounced now, but because of different aspects on communication and so on, we are seeing that some of our educators are being affected by mental health issues for whatever reasons, but they need to one, admit that they are being affected by it, and two, that they want to seek assistance, and it's nothing taboo to you know, and nothing wrong with them, you know, that they seek this help. But mental health is an area that we are seeing needs to be given much attention at this time.
And you would have mentioned also before that some areas in the education system with teachers or guidance counselors are understaffed. But, you know, we see young adults wanting to enter the field. Where exactly is the snag there? Why are they continuously understaffed? And we have a good population.
Yeah. What we would want to say, though, is if there are persons who want to get into the education system freely and because they have that passion and love for education, we welcome you open arms. It should not be a matter of you want a job, so I'm going into teaching because the pay is relatively good, the vacation is relatively good. You should have that passion for it. Now, there are persons who would have gotten into the education system through that I just want a job and then eventually fell in love with it and continued. What is taking place is that synchronizing between the Ministry of Education and the Teaching Service Commission. The TSC is the entity that is responsible for hiring, firing, promoting, etc. But the Ministry of Education plays an important role as well in terms of information feeding to the TSC. So the TSC cannot hire if they don't know the vacancies. If the ministry themselves are not sending the information for the promotional places, etc., then the TSC cannot advertise and have it done. So there needs to be a greater synchronizing between the two. The record keeping at both entities needs to be upgraded. The record keeping information system, technology-based, etc., that can enhance. But right now we're at a place where there are a number of vacancies and a number of people are acting according to my industrial relations officer. We have Hollywood, Bollywood, and Nollywood. Quite a bit, and the Honorable Minister did reveal in Parliament the number of vacancies in administration. When we talk about administration, then we have to also look at the lower level as well too, in terms of the teaching posts. So there needs to be that, and Tutor is attempting to bridge that gap. We meet with both entities. We're trying to bring all together so that we can address the issues together, because it's a hearsay. They say whenever we meet one body, they're saying about the next body, and vice versa. But there needs to be that synchronizing between the two bodies in order to have these vacancies filled, because it's really straining our system at this time.
And finally, what do you think is the biggest gap? What aspects do you think need to be bridged specifically between, let's say, the ministry and Tutor? What policies have Tutor advocated for that you feel haven't been addressed?
There are quite a bit of areas. There are long outstanding areas. We have incremental upgrades, we have promotional issues, we have even issues of filling of vacancies and so on. We look at education broad-based in the first instance. And so recently there was a talk of the continuous assessment component of the SCA coming back in roughly 2012. They had the CAC. It is by and large, we understand the intent of it, but the implementation was the challenge at that time. And so you have assessments as well, assessments of qualifications. We're having a big challenge as well too. And overall, the resources as well as infrastructure in Tobago has its unique challenges as well too, because of the level of administration in terms of the division as compared to the Ministry of Education. But generally, policies we look at, and the unfortunate thing is that policies are driven by the Minister of Education, who's a political being, and policies will be guided based upon the government's overall policy, and that can change every 5 years. Even within the same political party, the new Minister of Education can have a different thrust and policy, which does not give any sort of stability, because unfortunately we have seen in the past when a new Minister of Education comes in, if it was based upon a previous political person, they scrap it.
Exactly,
and there are some positive policies that that can be used, but it's discarded because it was political.
And that's truly, truly something that upsets me and actually saddens me when you really think about how it's played out in the past couple of years. But Mr. Lumpkin, thank you so much for... You wanted to add something before we wrapped up?
No. I mean, we could talk all day about education.
We really can.
Take
We really can.
entire day if we go to every aspect of education in Trinidad. One of the things we do say is that we cannot throw our hands up in the air. There's too much at stake for not only within the education system, but within Trinidad and Tobago. We cannot give up. We live here, and the majority of us love our country. We have to put aside political differences. Elections been completed. Let us look at running the country for the best interests of everyone in Trinidad and Tobago.
I could not have said it better. Mr. Lumpkin, thanks so much for joining us on AM Prime once again. I'm sure we'll have you back on to talk about, because education touches us all, right? We'll have you back on shortly. Have a beautiful, beautiful day, and thanks again.
Same to you. Thank you very much.
All right. To our viewers, we're going to take a short break, and then we'll be right back with you. We have a very exciting conversation coming up next about a play that's happening that will touch all of you. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Low energy? Heart concerns? Migraines slowing you down? It's time to take control of your health. Join Wellness Unlocked, the series that brings expert advice and real solutions for a healthier you. In our latest episode, learn how Jameson CoQ10 can help support heart health, boost energy, and even reduce migraines. Get the science, the stories, and the steps to power up your health with CoQ10. Don't miss Wellness Unlocked. Watch now on WESN and start your wellness journey today.
Do you need treatment for obesity or any related abdominal procedures? The community hospital now offers minimally invasive laparoscopic surgery done by an American-trained, board-certified surgeon with over 20 years' experience. Give us a call at 235-5479 for more information.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm not to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of the
not
game.
no.
Let's go to the last part.
Bill and Ruth fell in love with the Benjamin Moore color Dry Sage, but they tried to match it using another brand's paint.
I mean, it's close enough.
Almost identical, really. Yeah, there it is.
Never trust another paint to be a Benjamin Moore color.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
This is 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward on our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for, it's called loss and damage, and we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the correspondent banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region.
Man is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water and fresh air and everything had to be on this planet for humanity to have a chance.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. And Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
Pastor J, I want to get a tattoo.
You really
respond to me. Respond to me how you would respond to me.
The first question I'll ask is why?
Controversial taboo topics.
We get so consumed by church, we forget that we have to live the life of being a Christian outside of the Sunday.
Like you say,
services.
we think going to a service makes us a Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So here we are about to hear the second time Pastor J wanted to take a tattoo.
Would have been late last year and early this year.
Oh gosh.
Hope Unfiltered podcast with Pastor J and Ren.
Good morning and welcome back to AM Prime on WESN. So as I would have said before, we would have taken the break before, we are talking about, weirdly enough, a play, but a play that's more than just a play. We're joined today by Mr. Darren Sandy and Ms. Darian Campbell from the Keys Foundation to talk about their bold new production, Who Killed God? A satirical, thought-provoking play hitting the stage August 2nd and 3rd at the Central Bank Auditorium. This show tackles morality, ego, and faith, with all proceeds supporting their annual back-to-school drive and youth outreach programs. So much good is to be done from this play. So just join me this morning to welcome Mr. Darren Sandy, the founder of the Keys Foundation, and Ms. Darian Campbell, their social media and marketing officer. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah, you all hearing me good?
Yeah.
How is your morning going? Mrs. Sandy, Darian, you can go first.
As good as could be. Very early morning, but you know,
Indeed.
it's good.
The work doesn't stop, the grind doesn't ever stop.
Ever.
Mrs. Sandy.
Yeah, I'm good so far. I mean, we just came from our late night rehearsal.
just running through the play, making sure we get things as tight as possible, not just for the purpose of the production, but really and truly, the Keys Foundation has really been all about getting that message across. Since our inception, our first annual show way back in 2014, it has always been about positive messaging, using the performance arts to bring across something positive to impact the lives of not only the viewers, but our own lives, because of course, you send the message to yourself first before anybody else. So last night was one of those nights where, you realize how rough the edges are still. And in a good place, you have some sharpening to do. So that was, last night was all about, so we gearing up now for August the 2nd and 3rd, that first weekend, that Emancipation Weekend at Central Bank Auditorium, where we'll be bringing that play, Who Killed God?
Well, that's a good place to be, where you're able to identify what you need to sharpen up on, and you're able to put your mind to that. I actually had the pleasure of attending one of your plays, I believe it was last year, and it touched my life. I could still remember how I felt when I was watching it. The acting itself was so moving, but more than that, the messaging. It was odd the way it portrayed the messaging, because when you hear the title and you hear how exactly it was bringing up about the message, it was like, that's a weird way to do that, but it really stuck with you. And that brings me to my first question, Mr. Sandy. Who Killed God? The title alone, it's striking, but it's also odd. So can you tell me a little bit more about where that title came from?
Not a few years ago, probably about 10 years ago, I wrote a short story called God is Dead, where I was exploring, how humans might be in the absence of God. And as I started morphing it into this play, it changed a lot, of course, it changed a lot. But it was really looking at what are the things that we do as individuals to sort of distance God, to make God dead to us metaphorically in a kind of way. Of course, you can't literally kill God, but you could figuratively kill him in some very unique ways. So I think the play explores a range of different characters. It dives into them in some very interesting ways. And sometimes I think it will reveal to the people who are watching things that they might be doing that they didn't know was creating a distance between themselves and God. And some serious things too, some in your control, some not really in your control. Circumstances, of course, will allow people to act in different ways. So we have these two detectives now looking for the perpetrators of who actually committed the crime of killing God.
Interesting. Ms. Campbell, when you first heard the title, Who Killed God? I know you're actually a part of the play as well, and you're also on the management side of social media where that's concerned. But when you first heard the title, Who Killed God? What's the first thing that came to your mind?
What's he got on right? I think over the years, I've gotten quite accustomed to Darren really thinking out of the box and using different ways to bring across a very simple message, really and truly. And so I was definitely intrigued as to what this is going to be about this time. And having read it and being a part of it, well, as you said, I am a part of the management as well. And it's two completely different sides to the show. I really enjoy reading and seeing how each of these stories come to life, and there are so many different ways, as he said, that you could see. You question, maybe I am doing that too. It kind of, honestly, it brings across every emotion, and I think that's a beautiful thing. You don't only want to be able to master one thing, but be able to do many, and he has a great way of executing that with his plays, and this one is no exception.
Mr. Sandy, the play, it explores very heavy topics, as many of your plays do, a lot of spiritual issues. Are you afraid in any way or anxious that it might be too heavy a topic to come across, in the way you'll be putting it through a play like this?
Yeah, that's a great question. Essentially, when you do plays like this or any presentation, you always think about the audience first and the way they're going to receive it. Right? You want to give them food for thought, but you don't want to give them things that are too heavy or too burdensome, whereby they cannot really function. Because at the end of the day, theater is an entertainment space. So people come out on the Saturday night, Sunday evening to really be entertained. So now you as the writer and, well, the director, you have to really find that balance, right? So, of course, there's comedic relief within the whole dynamic of the play. And, of course, Trinidadians like to laugh at things. And even with the heavy part, the heavy parts whereby you're dealing with some serious issues that people might be facing, because it's live theater also reflects life as much as it's entertainment. So you can't really escape some of the heavier topics. And the heavier topics, of course, you try to mask it well enough with a comedic sort of balance as well, not ridiculing the issue or making light of the issue, but finding the exact timing to like break the tension that might exist in the room. So, you know, people could exhale and really understand what was the message just presented, rather than just living in the emotion of the moment, you know.
Can it be argued, and this question could be answered by the both of you, I bet you'd have different opinions, but can it be argued that this play is only for Christians?
I wouldn't say so, you know. I feel like the play is for everybody. Even if you generally believe in God or not, I think it's a wonderful way to approach the question without it being like a serious kind of hard-hitting discussion of you're wrong, you're right. It also gives you an opportunity to see things in a more relaxed setting for those who maybe aren't sure about God or who don't know God personally. This is an opportunity for them to see that really and truly even Christians have difficulties in their relationships. And honestly, it's entertainment, but it's also a really, really good message that's not just for Christians. So I wouldn't say that it's specifically only for Christians.
Yeah, I want to go a bit further. I actually think the play is not for Christians at all. Christians will enjoy it because it upholds, I guess, a message or a standard that they would have been familiar with all their lives. But this is really for people who haven't really met God, right? Or who have made distance with God, etc. So it's really I think it'll really benefit non-Christians a lot. Want to come and just take a look at it. And the thing, when I'm writing, especially these plays, I don't write for Christians in terms of, you don't want it to be too quote-unquote preachy, but you want it to be more of a conversational tone, like, hey, this is what's happening here, what you think about this, rather than trying to pound something down somebody's throat. You'll go to hell if this is that, you know. I try not to take that approach at all, because at the end of the day, I want people to be able to really listen from an almost non-judgmental space. There's no such thing as a non-judgmental space, but they could get it as natural as possible. For people to, even a non-believer could take it in and say, yeah, boy, that, at least I say I understood that particular thing, understood what's happening, you know.
I enjoy hearing that perspective. So moving on to the drive behind this, all proceeds from the production go toward your back to school drive and youth week. So Darian, can you tell us a little bit more about the broader mission of the Keys Foundation?
For sure. Well, the Keys Foundation really and truly was built to bring about positive change with youths utilizing the arts. And something that we do quite a lot is a lot of nonprofit. I mean, it's a nonprofit organization. And something we've done for quite a few years, over 10 years really, is a back to school drive. So it started with one person, and now we have assisted over 1,200 students, and that ranges from pre-K to university. So our annual production is really our main driving force to gain revenue, to assist in pushing that back to school drive through. And we also, as you said, do other work. So we have also worked with different organizations, just promoting going against gender-based violence, assisting in different schools, doing mentorship. We have weekly sessions with our youths, mainly based in Maloney. And really and truly, we see this as a great opportunity to not only bring our Keys family together, but to also bring together youths and families from across Trinidad and Tobago. One, in helping with the book drive, but also to share the message of positivity and to just bring good vibes wherever we are.
Mr. Sandy, the Keys Foundation, when I think of Keys, I think K-E-Y-S, but you've spelled it Q-U-A-Y-S. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, a quay with the Q is a place where ships dock and unload cargo. So it's really, we see each member as a vessel, and everywhere we go is the quay, where we unload, so where the attempt is to unload something positive to the people on that quay. Whether the quay could be your school, your workplace, your home, where you play sports, etc., etc. Anywhere you go is the quay. So always going with something positive to leave on the people everywhere you go. The goal is really to leave people with something positive. When they see you, see a little bit of God inside of you. In whatever you do, and it doesn't have to be, preaching on the street. It could just be the way you approach issues, the way you interact with people. And of course, it's an ongoing journey for anybody. But that is the core of what being a member of the Keys Foundation is supposed to be about.
Now, being the founder of a foundation like this, it requires a lot of work. I've met with many people on the show that are doing so much of work, and the first thing that they tell me is it's overwhelming work. And one of the first questions I would ask is, why are you subjecting yourself to something like this? I know sometimes you could give me the easy answer, well, I care so much about the youth, and it's my calling, and all of those things are wonderful. But specifically to you, this is not just, you're not making much revenue. I mean, I don't know, I'm counting the dollars, but you're probably not making the most amount of money from this work. Why are you doing this?
I mean, that's a good question, and sometimes I ask myself that. I asked myself that last night in practice. I was like, why are you doing this way? Sometimes you're ready to park it up, but several reasons. I think one of the first reasons, I am a performer myself. I've seen the reason why I started the Keys Foundation, we started as an open mic, is because I found performance poetry at the University of the West Indies. And I say, wait, boy, this thing makes me feel so good. I think it's so important. Let me see how many people I could bring it to outside of the university. So I started an open mic in Bonaire, where people could come from Maloney, etc., and really experience it, which kind of bled into a performance group coming out of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Maloney there. Yeah. So that is really was the core of the Keys Foundation, and it really a stem. There's a love. I have a love for writing. I have a love for performing on stage. I have a love for putting things together, and there's that love there. I think God gave me that gift, and I try to use it to the best of my ability. I got married to performance. It was performance. My wife is a critical part of the organization as well. So that is basically all I've known for the past, since 2010, coming up for the past 15, 16 years. So it's part of me. So that is one thing there. The other thing is that, as you were saying there, I'm going to get showing the cliche answer now. I think that at least for this point in my life, that is my sole purpose on earth right now, to really perform and bring messages to people. Like, that is all God have me do it. When you're ready for me to stop that, He let me know. But that is my purpose right now, and that's why sometimes when it gets really rough and you're thinking, yeah, boy, I want to pack this up, you just have to keep going until told otherwise. But having a love for anything that you do, and I mean, my love and passion for performance has kind of allowed me not to have a full-time, regular full-time job. This is my full-time job here, so I don't have to worry about being somewhere then coming to practice after, which makes things much easier, just having that freelance ability. So everything kind of like culminated to, I guess, this moment here of being in the position to do this work. And I do it with great joy and pride, and it's always good, as much as the young people might give you some little issues and things in between, it's always good seeing them able to come at the end of a finished product and see how they feel about themselves. You know, because if you, at the end of every production, even if you're, like you say, the production boss and you don't make any money, and you ask the children or the youth or the young adults participating, hey, how you all felt about that? And they say, yeah, but we feel really good. Then mission accomplished in a big way.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished in a big way, because as I said, that is what I felt first. I felt good, and I just wanted to share that good feeling with other people.
Okay, so Darian, amp up the show for me. Sell the show for me. Tell me what can people expect from it without giving away too much?
Really entertainment in its fullest form. You could expect to maybe cry, definitely laugh. You have to think. It will be very thought-provoking. You'll be able to see a lot of different characters, and maybe you might see somebody who represents yourself. Who knows? I think it's a great opportunity for you to hang out, meet your friends, and probably people you haven't seen in a while, and really and truly support an amazing cause while getting entertained. I think there's no greater thing than being able to assist somebody while being entertained. It's just, you're killing two birds with one stone. So I feel like it's an amazing opportunity for everyone, and it's not a play that is specific to age either. It's all ages, and that's one thing I really love about our plays. So once you have the time, and if you don't have the time, you could make the time. Come down and enjoy Who Killed God on August 2nd and 3rd at the Central Bank Auditorium.
So I had a set of questions here, but I've been veered off. Someone had just commented and asked, is there any sort of spoken word as part of the show?
Yeah, there's a piece of, one of the characters has a piece of spoken word poetry somewhere in one of those scenes there. I think it's one of the latter scenes. So there's a little bit of that. There's music, there's song. The production tends to mix all the performing arts elements to tell the entire story. So it's an overall enlightening and entertaining experience. So folks, you really don't want to miss Who Killed God. You know, hang out Who Killed God too. Yeah.
Another question would be, it seems that are you pivoting from spoken word to this sort of performance theater, Mr. Sandy?
Nah, well, the thing is, many people don't know I do this. I have been doing this every year since 2015. We do one production. So normally I'm not on stage during the Keys Foundation production. I'm in the background, and the young people and all the other members of the group take the stage and act. I write and produce it and direct it. But yeah, I still do spoken. Most of the time you see me on stage, I'll be actually doing spoken word poetry and performance. And of course, yeah, push that to the limits. But yeah, I've been doing this every year since 2014, and it's also a privilege to have see your work come to life. A lot of people do plays, but never get the chance to see it come to life on a stage. And I've been blessed and thankful for that privilege for the past 11, 12 years.
Beautiful. All right. So as we build up the show, we let people know what to expect, what not to expect. Can you give us some information about it? Where do they get tickets? Where can we just hear more about the show? And the foundation.
Sure. Sorry?
No, and the foundation. Please go ahead.
Oh, no problem. Well, you could catch us on literally all social media at the Keys Foundation, Instagram. You could definitely get a lot of information from our website. We have a pop-in TikTok right now. Apparently, young people like to use TikTok, me included. So you could definitely check out those aspects. In terms of tickets, you can get tickets at carrytickets.com, as well as DMing us on Instagram directly.
When it comes to people who maybe they aren't as mobile, is there any service where you can give them tickets, or there's like a digital ticket stub or anything like that? Or are you guys looking into doing something like that?
Oh, for sure. In terms of digital, we do sell tickets at carrytickets.com, so it won't be a physical ticket. So once you purchase the ticket there, once you purchase the ticket there, it's just like a code. You come in. I feel like, honestly, it's a better experience sometimes, you know. Buy a ticket online, you know. Oh, I got my thing on phone.
I like that. I didn't know that was a thing. You just educated me there on that. Thank you for that. So yes, Carry, CARI.com.
CARITICKET. Oh, sorry, you were saying something, Darren.
No, I was just saying she was correct. CARITickets.com.
Yeah.
All right. Beautiful. So how can people get involved beyond buying a ticket? Is there any of the youth work that you guys need some more volunteers for, or consistent funding? Like, how can people get involved?
Sorry.
Let's go for either of you.
Let's tell her she could give us $1 million.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure,
yeah. Please.
Let me get 2 first and I'll part with 1. Yeah.
But currently...
Go ahead, Darian.
Oh, sorry. Currently, we actually, we're taking a lot of items for our back-to-school drive. Mm-hmm. So we currently also have running a camp. It's a yearly camp that we do, and it's also something that we cover using the funds that we would have gained from our show. And at our camp, we have it at the Maloney Indoor Regional Complex, and we have an area where we're taking in items that people would like to donate. This would be used for the back to school drive, and on the day of the show as well, we're going to be collecting items. So anything, books, pencils, textbooks that you think necessary, definitely bring it down. And if that isn't your drift and you have even more to give, you can contact us directly. You can contact me directly, 367-6022, or DM us on Instagram or Facebook, and we'll be able to connect with you and to sort everything out.
Mm-hmm. So I know right now the tickets are $150.
Yes.
What's the price of the door?
$200.
$200. All right.
Special price.
Okay, so how long will the tickets be at $150 for?
It's while stocks last. So to tell you honest, should have about 20 more for each night. 20 more 150s for each night, and then it goes up after that.
All right. Okay. Beautiful. So can you, Mr. Sandy, before we close, can you share any stories or moments from past drives or maybe last years in which you would have done the show that really impacted you, or you heard from somebody that it really impacted them?
I mean, yeah, every year we do a lot of feedback, and sometimes when you're reading through the feedback, you hear some real interesting things, people seeing themselves on stage, people really connecting with the experience. But one of the most, one of the most important things for me is really seeing the development and the growth of the young people. For the past couple of years, we'd have like shot not really a documentary, but a short little profile of the organization to show at the shows itself, and always sit down with a camera and ask the members of the group, whether young or older, ask them, hey, how being in the Kids Foundation has impacted you. And some of the responses you hear, it really reminds you of the importance of the work. Like there was once a young person said that like the Kids Foundation acting became her life, and the most important thing to her, escape from so many things. So besides, these are some of the things I hear, and these are some of the things you support when you come to the shows that the Kids Foundation have annually. You really support sustained development, sustained human development. A space where people could just come and perform and interact with their friends and really be in a sort of a positive space where, they're coming together to put together a strong message. And I'm looking forward to seeing that continue even into this year when we do the Who Killed God production.
All right. So, Darian, my last question to you would be, do you believe that theater can still change hearts and minds in the age of social media and very, very, very short attention spans, as in your experience as social media manager?
Yes, for sure. I 1000% believe that. And in the age of social media, performance has had different forms, right? So it's changed quite a bit, but some things stay constant, and I think that there's nothing better than actual physical theater. It's different, it's real, and you get to connect with your audience in a way that you can't through social media. you can connect through social media, but it's just very different. It's more real, it's more tangible. And I think that as we continue to evolve as people and as a country, we need to continuously keep putting energy and resources into the space to make it a thriving space, not only for youths, but just for people in general. A place where people could share their stories and really impact others. And even for me today, there are shows that I've watched 10 years ago that I still remember to today and has impacted me in a way where, okay, I want to go forward and try things that I never tried before because I saw this particular scene in this show or something that touched my heart that makes me very empathetic to a certain situation.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it will stop. I just think that evolution continues, and it's just about making sure that we put energy into keeping the actual live space alive and thriving.
Beautifully said, beautifully said. All right, so Who Killed God, a satirical, thought-provoking play hitting the stage on August 2nd and 3rd at the Central Bank Auditorium in Port of Spain. All proceeds support their annual back-to-school drive and youth outreach program, so it is for a good cause. The tickets right now are limited stock, only for $150, and the price goes up to $200 after that, or $200 at the door. So do get yours while stocks last. As you heard before, it is going very, very quickly. So you can get tickets at the Keys Foundation. Quays is how you spell the key. Keys Foundation, or you can go to caritickets.com, caritickets.com. Thank you so much, Mr. Sandy and Ms. Campbell, for joining me here on AM Prime.
Thanks for having us.
It was a pleasure. You guys have a beautiful, beautiful day. I hope I didn't leave out anything with that. Yeah? Right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks so much and have a beautiful day. All right. So with that is the ending of our show for this morning. Thanks so much for tuning in to AM Prime. My name is Judah McLeod. As you know, you can always engage with us on WESN CC, WESN TV, or on our WhatsApp at 682-9376, 682-9376. We are always willing and wanting to hear what you have to say to us, any discussions you want us to have, any suggestions you have for us, you can let us know. So our quote for today revolves around the sense of education. You know, we would have had the conversation with Mr. Martin Lumpkin, of the Tutor. Earlier on today, we would have touched on many different things in terms of the education system and where it is right now, what it should be, what it should cover. So the quote for today is, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." What I take from that is that education is everywhere, right? It touches every single person, as it's such a powerful tool. And if we don't get down what the importance of education is right now, if we don't get it down to a T, what it is it can be used for, we don't understand its importance, we will become very, very lost. That is, as it was powerfully said by Mr. Nelson Mandela, that it is the most powerful weapon that we can use to change the world. All right, so stay tuned for Mr. Sean Michael Small coming up on the hour of 8 o'clock for Talking Point. Thanks so much for joining me again on AM Prime, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
WESN.
I am Dr. Delphina Ovid, your friendly neighborhood dentist. At Community Hospital Dental Clinic, we offer examinations which include x-rays, basic oral cancer screening, and a treatment plan. We also offer cleanings, fillings, extractions, root canal treatment, and complete and partial dentures. Remember, you don't have to brush and floss all your teeth. just the ones you want to keep.
Give us a call at 235-5479.